What is going on, everybody, and welcome on in. So today we are live for the close. Usually we do Wednesday mornings, but this morning change of plans. So we decided to go live for the close for today. And so we'll talk about that. Moderna is probably the most, I guess, most prominent mover today, at least large cap wise. There's plenty of other ones where that came from, but large cap wise across the board, this is down 16%. Although are we surprised? If we go back, we talked about this in prior videos. Are we surprised after what it's done? It was due for a really crazy pullback type of day at some point. Trying to find the top, trying to be there for that. Wasn't ideally the way you wanted to kind of play it, because you probably got squeezed pretty hard. PT at 4, yes I know. So I'm sorry, but yeah, we'll go live until the market closes, and then we'll see how this shapes on up into tomorrow. I personally played it today, but I played it on the short side and then the long side for like a dip or two, but that's it. Nothing really, I didn't really care for it too much, because, I kind of was hoping for more of a move at the open. We kind of got more of that slow move and then eventually the really kind of big drain out into the midday. I was hoping for more of a dip at the open. It is what it is, not going to complain. I did get screwed on one other play, though, that I will talk about. I'm actually going to make a separate video on that. I'm still holding MVOS. Comms I'm not in, but Comms is fine. Mouse just lost connection, so give it a second. But I'm still in NVOS. The thing with all swings, small cap swings that at least I play, and I'll talk about even another one of them that I'm actually buying some more. I'll talk about why. We can even dive into, we'll dive into the numbers and why I like it too, because why not? But the thing with small cap swings right now is that it's August, right? It is. You're right now, I think, and I'll show you some examples too of we're literally in a time where it doesn't, certain very selective plays kind of will make sense and they'll go because it kind of logically makes sense, but a lot of stuff right now is not going for a logical reason, and we can talk about as to why. But the swings that I have, I feel fine with them where they are. They're lower, fairly low risk, high reward plays, and so I like them where they are. Comms, I think I'm actually, what is comms at? Like just over 2? Not C. We want comms. COMS. I think it's fine. I just decided to consolidate into VISL. Kind of, those two are somewhat sympathy plays in a sense. When one runs, the other likes to follow. So comms under the 50 SMA for now. So 220-ish, 225 resistance. We have support here down towards like 180-ish. So it's kind of in between that range. If we get back into the fall and, sector heats up, I'll get back in, but I just want to consolidate. But MVOS, I'm in. I'm actually looking to buy more if it does dip back down. Held up down here to 176 area. If it comes back down, I'll buy some more. Under $2 is now where I'm looking to buy more. So my average is like 217. What I did was I sold this day. I sold some into that spike up to 3. And then I started to rebuy some more as it came back down to the 220s. And so now my average is 217. I'm going to buy some more under 2. That's the plan for NVOS. Outside of that, what else is there on the list I want to talk about? An SPR. I can talk about that right now. Actually, because I'm going to buy some more. Why not? Let's see if I can get more. I'm buying like 50 shares at a time on this guy. Will it fill? No, let's see if I can move that order. But yeah, this is one where this is the type of market that we're in, and I'll hopefully demonstrate that in the next like 2 minutes if we can explain, because today was a great lesson for me too, to kind of make sure I understand that. So okay, NSPR, I'm buying more. Let's talk about why. If we go over to FinViz, we go to NSPR. There's more to the story here, but here it is. Here's a PR. I'll pull up the PR, NSPR. Well, first, okay, let's dive into this. Okay, here's a chart, right? It's essentially like so low on this chart based on the, we had a crazy, last year. We understand we had a crazy year. Small caps were going crazy. Everyone was making money. You buy anything, it went up. I played NSPR. I had fun. I made money. I sold it way too early. It is what it is, right? Now I'm back in NSPR, okay? Market cap, 31.44 million. Shares float, 5.6 million. So we're talking about a sub 10 million float company, super thin. This thing can, if it wants to go to $10 and then come back down to 5 the same exact day, it could do it, right? The type of play that we're looking at, right? They drop earnings, right? So, okay, you think holding through earnings, super risky to do with penny stock. Oh, I agree. I totally agree. When it's generally a anticipated earnings, I'd never want to hold something through that. So if it's a stock that's got a lot of attention, got a lot of momentum, no, not touching that thing. This is something that's been quiet. And the small cap's been quiet, and I felt pretty confident about the play. Insiders have bought in way higher. If we go into what have insiders been doing as of late, take a look at this. I mean, you go back to February, and they're buying in at 62 cents. That was pre-reverse split. They did a reverse split, uplisted to the NASDAQ. So, some stuff's been going on behind the scenes, right? Here it is. Revenue of just over 1 million, increase of 231% in the second quarter right here compared to this time 2020. Okay, COVID period, I get it, right? Initiated enrollment right there, transferred to NASDAQ, yes, appointed this, okay, blah, 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 whatever. So we see that, okay, we have a revenue increase of 230%. Awesome, right? That sounds pretty good. Sometimes stocks will run, 20, 30, 100% off that title, that headline alone, but it's earnings season. A lot of penny stocks, a lot of small caps, a lot of stocks are coming out with earnings. And so it kind of got lost in the crowd. Now it popped up about 15, 20% pre-market yesterday, but it got lost in the crowd. Now, they'd talk more in depth about all this stuff. But what I was more kind of concerned with or more interested in was I do a little Command F and I type in cash. And I'm like, okay, what kind of cash are we looking at here? As of June 30th, cash and cash equivalents were 41.4 million compared to 12.6 in December 31st of 2020. Okay, let's just take a step back here now. What's the market cap? Market cap is 31 million. Does that mean necessarily anything? No, but they got decent amount of cash, right? $41 million in cash. They're talking about revenue of 1 million in a quarter. That's a decent amount of cash, it seems like, that they're holding, right? And now their market cap is less than the amount of cash they have. So the literal cash value of the company right now is more than market cap. Okay, so you're starting to see this is generally speaking a good deal in my eyes. So anything under $4, I'll buy. I'll buy every day, like 10, 20, 50 shares, 100 shares. I'll just buy a little bit every day on dips. That's it. That's what I'm doing. That's a plan. And look, we had yesterday, earnings comes out, it pops from 390 to 490. So it popped $1, but that was on super light volume. So you kind of can see, okay, popped up, didn't hold up, is what it is. Fine. I'll buy more. No problem. I'm fine holding it down here under $4. I think $10 is a legitimate target on the stock. As crazy as that sounds, I think it's a legitimate target to have, which is up here. Chart wise, that would put you up here, probably on a spike on some kind of news release, something like that. But still, that's a plan. And I can dive deeper into, going forward, deeper into kind of the future of the pipeline and whatnot, obviously, as it plays out. But for me, it's a good deal. So there's that, right? Then you got this stock right here, ACY. Okay, I got burned on a short because I was swinging it short. My bad. I should have actually covered it yesterday, but I was looking to target $15. I didn't get 15. I got 15.70. I want an extra 70 cents because I had a target down here towards this line, which is actually at 14, but I was like, okay, I'll round it up to 15. Some of these highs, that was my target, right? I didn't get my target, so I didn't get out of my position. And then guess what happens? I get squeezed out today. I had to cover it higher. I had an average of like 18-ish, okay? On the short side. Low volume play. ACY just is essentially is going bankrupt. They're like literally, this is like some of the most trash of trash, right? When it comes to penny stocks. Obviously, who knows? They can turn it around, I guess, right? But they had some filings. We go into BAM SEC. I can pull this up right here. BAMSEC.com, and you go to ACY on here. It's a 1 million float, or at least it was, and I'll talk about why it's not. So other events comes out yesterday right here. So they file, let's see. Sets forth the principal terms of an investment by the investors into AeroCentury, blah, 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 under Chapter 11, Title 11 of the United States Code, the Bankruptcy Code. So you start seeing Chapter 11, everyone goes, oh my, bad news, right? Not good. Well, not necessarily, because now they essentially got an investment of these guys, these investors came in with $11 million, and they got shares. I forget, they got whatever that equivalent is in shares. At $3.85 per share. So they immediately get awarded like 2.5 million shares, something like that, right? At $3.85, not awarded, but they're given this amount of money or this amount of shares at $3.85. Now go back, what's the stock trading at? The stock's trading like $20. So the people, these investors immediately are up like, I don't know, whatever, 200-300% on their investment. And so my rational mind is like, okay, these guys are going to dump 2 million shares on this stock. They're going to dump those shares because, for sure. And what do we see? If you go to ACY, the stock spiked up. pulled back. I was like, this thing is going to go probably to 15 and probably sub 10 if I had to take a guess in the next couple of months or weeks. And it may still do that, right? Because it's coming back down today, right? But, right, it's that exact thought process of this is an obvious short. These guys are dumping shares. Take a look at the float. The float's 1.2 million. If you're going to add 2 million, over 2 million shares to the float, right? That's massive dilution, right? So you think the market cap should now be up towards like 70 plus million given the current price. So it made no sense for a company that's like, borderline bankrupt, right? So this is why it didn't make sense, but it squeezed. And so you could be logical, but that sometimes that doesn't help you, right? In the market. So that's the deal, right? That's the kind of market we're in, right? You talk about NSPR, 200% increase in rev. We have literally more cash than the market cap right now, okay? Stock doesn't do anything, right? Pops up, falls right back off, and now it's red, right? This stock is up. It was at one point up like 100% today. Why? Because why not, right? It's just the market we're in. So I do short. I've been doing that more. Honestly, I've been probably going through like that whole learning curve of short this whole summer, really. And I made it a point to do that. And so, I've had some great shorts. I probably would still say that I've made more money than I've lost shorting the past 4 months, and I've really gotten more into it. But generally speaking, you start to see stuff like this, and now I understand how this stuff happens. And it was the same thing with FLGC. Where is that stock? Same exact thing. I'm not one to say I don't know anything about this company, like not FLGC, FULC. Okay, I don't know. They had positive phase 1 news. Generally, positive phase 1 doesn't really amount to too much. The stock was up over 100%. Okay, for positive phase 1 news, really, but it was up over 100%. Okay, then it held up. They announced an offering in the after hours. Stock dips to 17.11 and then rebounds right back. So you saw right here that what's happening was it's the obvious short, and that's exactly why it's not, because it's an obvious short. Phase 1 news, okay, great. Who cares, right? Well, wait a sec. Before you kind of just jump on and jump in all in short here, the price action's telling us otherwise, right? Price action, this thing rebounded up and pushed up pretty nice. Then it held up all after hours, all pre-market hours. It held up, and that's what I did today. Is I would be the person that's more stubborn and be like, yeah, this thing is going down because it makes no sense. Positive phase 1, okay, whatever. Who cares about this product? It doesn't mean anything. Great, sure. That would be the old me, right? But now I'm like, wait a second. In pre-market here, it's holding up. This is probably going to squeeze even further, and that's what we saw. Hit up to 25 at the open. It's been falling off since. It still could go, but they got some upgraded price targets, so I wouldn't be interested in shorting this one right here. Maybe in a couple days if it starts to fade off, but I don't really care. It's not worth it right here. I'd rather go find something else or just buy something on a swing, to be honest. Buy something low for a swing. And that's the other thing too. I do really enjoy, it's fun, to day trade, but I really enjoy swing trading a lot more. I really do. I just like the more you do it. You feel like people do this because they want the freedom, the time freedom. So why would you kind of get yourself stuck into the hole of the day trade every single day at the desk all day? Now, if I'm going to do that, I would have a set time, set hours, and I wouldn't want to do it all day, right? Ideally long term, right? It's fun here and there. And if you guys didn't see the video yesterday that I posted, that was kind of like not every day. It was kind of like a day in the life of if I was going to sit at the desk all day and do this, but I don't do that every day. Let's see. PFE jazz options are suddenly red. EV charging place. Yeah. Well, let's take a look at MODERNA again. Let's see. MRNA. What do we got? Oh, it's rebounding a little bit here. It is rebounding a little bit. But yeah, I think I had a comment on a video on the other channel yesterday, Stock Trends channel, that someone was saying stock's not going to go down at any rate that you're, potentially mentioning. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Someone's like banging away in the apartment above us. They're like, this stock, I was saying, hey, caution, if this thing goes over $500 or gets up to that 500-ish area, right, we're probably in play here for a big down day at some point. Now, I'm not going to be the one to guess exactly when it's going to happen, but at some point. And what do we see? It's down $70 today. $70. It was actually down more. It was down like $85 at one point today. Crazy. I mean, that's the type of thing. When you're up this much in the past X number of months, you're going to get some volatility, and the volume has been pouring in. So I expect the volatility to continue. I think it will continue, but we'll see how that happens. I think shorts had their little fair share today, and so we'll see if they get squeezed tomorrow or going forward if they get squeezed back out. But yeah, that's the deal with Moderna right now. I mean, I was actually thinking about it. I was I was shorting it, or I was in it in this little kind of range that it was in, and then it fell out of that range, and I wasn't really interested. Now it's kind of holding up here. We have support here at like, what is this? We got support at like 382, resistance getting up towards that 388 area. Kind of lines up with this high back in here. 390, it's got to get back over 390 for a move back up, into the after and potentially into the close, which we could get. So it could be worth a shot if you think about it, right? If you're looking at an idea right now from here, from 386, let's say you're targeting like 400-ish, right? That's about 4%. And you're going to risk yourself down to like 381. Risking 1 to make 4 is a pretty good risk reward, right? If that's how you want to play it. So just kind of finding that's the type of stuff that I'd be more interested in finding for the day trade, ideas rather than trying to overthink it. I think it's more watch the price action, play the technicals, play the price action and volume. Sometimes the fundamentals in the long term, right, they reign supreme, but in the short term, they can really mess with you, right? Because it just makes sense. This stock should be up, but this stock should be down. Because you think that means, honestly, that usually means the opposite. All right, let's see. NSPR is a great idea. I think NSPR is literally just, for me, it's just one that I'm fine waiting on. No issue to wait on that. And just let it chill and do its thing, right? Let's see. Let's see. All-time highs. If we see $10 on NSPR, that's all. That would be amazing. That's all I care about. The swings that I look for, I generally look for like a target of at least 25%. If I can see that I can get at least 25%, I take the swing. Obviously I like to risk less, but sometimes I have different plans. So this one I'm looking to average in. If it drops, lower under 4, I'm averaging in, building that position out bigger over time into the fall. I get more confident as we get into the fall. But yeah, that's it. That's the plan. The average is higher because I was in this one, I was in it, sold some back in this spike and started buying it a little too early, but it is what it is. I liked a lot of my swings. If there's no news, if it's a pump, I'll just sell into that pump and then look to rebuy again later on the dip, which is generally how I'll swing. And honestly, we're getting close. We're getting kind of slowly, it's taking time, but we're getting back into the kind of the market that that we had pre-COVID, which is, a lot more interesting, at least I think a lot more predictable based on, at least my experience, but that's also, who knows? It can always change, right? Outside of that, I bought another one of those pen calls. So I have some pen calls for next year. Look at pen. Here's the daily chart on pen. Every hard dip, it seems like it keeps getting bought up. So I like pen. Anything in the 60s, I think is a good buy personally. On this one. Also, I think a good play into the football season, right? Sports betting play. They own Barstool Sportsbook. So I like this idea for sure. Also, not to mention, I think that we have quite the range on this play. I think the first target I would have is up towards 85. So if Penn gets to 85, yeah, I'll sell one of those contracts, right? If that happens like next month, yeah, I'll sell a contract that I have, right? Because I have 2. But I have 70 calls for June, for like almost 10 months out, whatever that number is. So that's what I've been buying. I bought 2 of those. I think it's like roughly $3,100 or something like that. And we're trading with an account size of like 40-something thousand. So roughly that's it. I don't want to go in with more than like $4,000 to $5,000 on any one position. So that's at least like kind of like my max threshold, just roughly like 10%. So that's the number that I'm playing with. But that changes over time. Obviously, as the account value changes, so I take money out, put my money in, right? That can change. So that's the plan. I didn't talk about Pfizer, PFE, but it pulled back today, right? Yeah. Well, there was some news out of Europe, I believe, about potential, side effects and whatever of the vaccine. So we're seeing that kind of happening today. Also, these stocks are just straight up. To be honest, again, if you're looking at Pfizer, there was opportunity. I miss it myself as well. But, if you wanted Pfizer, you had an opportunity right in here, right? Here is your range. Here is your opportunity to buy Pfizer. When it started to break out of that range, yeah, you had this day right here, which happened to be the 21st of July where it pulled back. That could have been a good buy day. But generally speaking, the breakout trade is not when you want to buy on the breakout, buy on the pullback and retest of the prior support level. Boom. And that's what we saw on Pfizer. So that would have been actually a really good buy. Under $41, but north of 40, between that 40 and 41 range after we broke out and pulled back. Boom, that would have actually hindsight's 2020, right? But that would have been a decent buy. looking back. Now you're playing calls now. Yeah, could you maybe have been targeting $50? Yeah, sure, but could we get there? Maybe, maybe not now, maybe in like, in 2 months, maybe in 3 months. I don't know. Maybe we see a pretty substantial pullback, but all the vaccine stocks are seemingly taking a pretty big hit, at least as of right now, and they're all pulling back. But with that news out of Europe, I believe right there how they're testing, or they're pulling back on some of this stuff because of potential side effects, and there's just some concerns. And usually buying the fear is a good thing. And so maybe if you're bullish on the vaccine stocks, buy the fear, I guess, if you want. But they're also completely different valuations, or I think they're getting a lot closer than what they were, Pfizer versus Moderna. But Pfizer, price point right here in the 40s, people always are like, well, why is Pfizer less than Moderna, right? Well, there's a different share structure, and so the whole market cap is different. If you go look at this on FinViz, if you go to PFE, Pfizer's market cap is $269 billion because they have about 506 or 5.6 billion shares outstanding. Okay. MRNA is a market cap of 184 billion. It was just roughly 200 billion, yesterday, I believe. But they have less shares, which is why higher price. So make sure you're looking at that. So technically, Moderna is technically still a lesser valued company in terms of market cap. So market cap, take the price times the amount of shares are available. So 400 million shares times the price, roughly, is roughly what you're looking at when it comes to market cap. So playing calls September 51. So that could be good if this is a kind of a buy the fear type of thing for Pfizer. Yes, you would want to see it roughly holding over 45-ish, 45, 46, like this area right here that it kind of came up to last time, and kind of pulled back. You would want to see this area now as a prior resistance becoming support. So Pfizer, you don't want to see this thing dropping below $46 in my opinion and holding below that level. Below that, then it's looking like it's cracking down to the downside, and there's some further weakness, and maybe there's more news that's driving it and whatnot. So that's the thing that I would say about Pfizer. But outside of that, it still could be good if it holds up over 46. It's still probably bullish. Outside of that, what else is there going on? What else should I buy? So I have the airline plays. I don't have enough. Now I'm looking back. I'm like, JetBlue looks really good, in my opinion. As much as you might think that the scares and everything, same thing happened last winter. They pushed up into the winter, as crazy as it sounds. Look at JetBlue's chart. This looks really nice. Now you're going to have some struggling over the $16 area. So JetBlue's got to get up over 16, but this chart looks beautiful. My first target's $18. So I got a bunch of calls that are out to January 22 of essentially a couple months out. Less than 6 months. And then I have some calls out for 2023, January. So I got plenty of time on those. I'm not going to sell those anytime soon. But if we hit $18, I'll probably sell at least, I have 4 of the $13 calls for this winter. I'll probably sell at least 2 to 3 of those, lock in some gains if we hit 18. And then if it gets up towards $20, then I'll sell the rest of those, and then I'll maybe leave a little bit to ride for the longer dated calls. And depending upon how juicy they are, really at that point, if these do hit sooner than I think or than I thought, well, these are probably going to be 100% plays easily, because I gave them so much time out in the future that their intrinsic value is going to be really solid, but then they also got to factor in the time, which is going to be nice. So, yeah, that's that. We can look at the account. What's the account at? We'll talk about this. We'll see how the week shapes up. But the portfolio is down about 1,000 this week. We're at 43.3 roughly in the account, $12,000 cash, $30,000 in the market. However, as much as I was saying through August, I want to be half cash, half in the market. I want to be less than half my portfolio in small caps. So I started positioning myself into some airline plays, long term, the pen play, long term. That's $3,000 in pen. We have Save, almost $2,000 in Save, and we have about $3,000 in JetBlue. But the JetBlue play, right, we're at $3,000 because that's actually up $600 at least in terms of those options. Let's take a look at the options right here. So the shorter term options, the 2022s, January 2022s, those are up about 28%. And the ones for next year, for 2 years out, 2023 is 18 months out, roughly, those are up 21%. And then Save, I have some calls for Save. I have one for this winter and then one for next winter. That's how I went about it. I'll add more to this one, but this has been the weakest. Save has been the weakest out of the airline stocks because if you guys don't know, Save is Spirit, and they've been canceling a lot of flights. And so there's a lot of more negative press on Spirit's side of things, at least as of right now. So that's what I'm in there. Those are barely up, but I can't complain with that for now, at least. So Yeah, so I positioned a decent amount more in large caps. Also to note, SoFi, we have earnings tomorrow, I believe, on SoFi. So it's kind of a risk, but I'm holding just shares into earnings. So I'm probably, not really concerned about that. Unless it runs up close to 18, 19 bucks before the earnings, I'll probably take something off, but I would probably going to hold that through earnings. I think SoFi is a longer term play as well. But that's just it. I mean, I'll discuss more if anything changes into, in Saturday's video, which I may have to film on Thursday. And then this coming Sunday, I will not be able to go live. I'm going to have people in town, so we'll not be live Sunday, but we'll resume back to normal next week, right, doing the usual lives. Okay, so let's see. September 24 on the Pfizer. Okay, that's not terrible. You have time. You have over a month. So let's see how that 46 level holds up on Pfizer, and I would say go from there. Meanwhile, Moderna is still holding up. Roughly this. It's kind of enticing me to take it, but I'm not gonna mess with it right now. It's enticing me right here. This 382. I can put a stop below that level. We could do it. It's the minimal risk. We're minimal risk. Let's do 10. I'm going to take 10 right now, and we'll put an immediate stop on it. So we got 10 just under that level, and let's put a stop price at let's see, what is this? What are these lows at? 381.85. Let's do 381.73. If we do drop below 381.73, I'll be taken out. And ideally, if this thing pops on up a couple dollars, I'll move my stop up to over my average, and so we can lock in a free trade there and let that one ride into the close. But we'll see if it holds up. This is a minimal risk, looking for, if you look at the amount of risk here you're taking on this, you're taking about, 0.5% risk. And I'm looking for, probably up towards 390 at least, for a 1.5% reward at least on those, shares. So we'll see how that plays out. Leave that one in the background, and we'll talk about some other stuff. AVPT. Let's pull this bad boy up. This is interesting because this is getting to this is in a decent level. I don't know enough about them though, personally, so I can't really, don't want to speak too much into them. But this is an interesting spot. This is a decent pullback, and I think buying this dip isn't terrible. It did dip down to, okay, so we have support here at 932 technically is where it dipped to a couple weeks back, and it literally came down to like that exact same spot today. Look at that. Exactly 932. If you zoom out on the chart, go to the 4-hour chart, we literally hit to 932 back in end of mid to late July. Same exact spot. So that's a spot that it's holding for now. That's it. DPW is hilarious, I think, because this DPW has gone from, they're more of like, it seems like now, like they're just like trading, like the guy's just trading. The guy, Alt Milton or whatever his name is, just like trading stocks. Like they're buying other stocks. Because they got to report all these in the filings, and you see all the filing coming out from them, and like they're buying this stock, and he's talking on Twitter about, fights. And I saw some stuff about, I don't know. I don't like it. I'm staying away from him personally, but we got some good support here down towards 225. So, it's pushing up, breaking out over the 50 SMA. If it can hold over this 250, that's a good sign. So if it holds over 250, I think that's good. 225 support, worst case, last ditch support down to $2. So it's got range in the chart. It's, probably going to be due for it. It'll probably get another run at some point into the end of the year, I would imagine. But I don't know if the sentiment seemingly isn't really, I don't know. A lot of these stocks in August, I would say probably less likely to run. So it's an opportunity for you to maybe accumulate at a lower price on the dips is seemingly what the move is for August, at least as of late on some of these low small caps. COCP, another one too, right? You would think, okay, it makes some sense, right? Code play popping back on up, numbers spiking or whatever. And the thing is, it's still holding $1, so it's looking decent if it holds $1, but it's just kind of trim. It's just, not doing much. It really isn't doing much. Look at that barcoding. I mean, this is just algorithms and control. That's literally all it is. It's algorithms and control, buying it at this point, selling it here, buying, selling, just, that's it. That's all that's happening. Seems like every cent. So until we don't see that, until you look at this chart and you see less barcoding, I'm not as interested, because then you're kind of playing it in the algos and they're in control, and it's not price. It is not, you're out of control here. Not that you really have control necessarily over anything, but at the end of the day, you have less control. Price action seems like there's a lot less volume. Not something that's very uncommon. I think if you go to SNDL, it's very similar, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, not as much on SNDL. It used to be, at least. There was a time where SNDL was super crazy with the barcoding. Not as much, but similar kind of idea there was on SNDL at least a couple months back, and it does it from time to time, where you just kind of see it, barcoding the whole time. But I'm not a big fan of when I see that. But at the same time, it's not moving, so it's not headed straight down. It's at $1 support is how I see it. $1 support. All right, let's see. Back to this bad boy, not moving. There was a day, I think a couple days ago. This is kind of nuts on Moderna. Look at this. This was a crazy point on Monday. There was a 360 was a resistance, and it literally got stopped at 360. What is this? These are 5-minute candles from 11:10 to this is over an hour. It could not break above 360 for over 1 hour, and then once it did, I actually went long. I think once it did, because I was like, seems like a pretty key level to me. Boom, and then it popped up from there and went, almost $500. So, but that was a crazy day. Or crazy kind of, price action to watch. I think I was at the gym and I was watching it on my phone. I'm like, this is pretty crazy. It's just literally like it's almost resistance lines are like never perfect, right? You look at, when you start diving deeper into technical analysis, it's like, it's never perfect. It's like, okay, roughly here's an area, here's a point, here's a key level, but it's not a key, number to the cent. And that was literally to the cent every time it got to that level. It would just, seller comes in, or they couldn't break through the wall of sellers, or short, whatever it was. So it was kind of crazy to watch. What's your favorite time frame? I love looking. I'm more of a swing trader, right? I love swings, so I like looking at the 1 day, 1 year, 1 day. But on terms of short-term time frames, 1 minute and 5 minute is what I'll look at. So for that Moderna, we'll look at this. I personally, the 5 minute can kind of cancel out some of the noise, but sometimes I like looking at the noise a little bit just to kind of see what's happening. And you can get a better feel for okay, it pulled back here and now, it's getting held up here. The buyers come back in. And you can kind of see that a little better. So sometimes I like looking at that stuff, and it helps to kind of see a little bit of the noise just to get a better picture for what's going on. And as we speak, it's probably going to take me out. So we'll see if we get stopped out. It doesn't look great. Looks like it wants to go head down for some more to the downside, but that's why on this type of play, I would use a hard stop. On some small caps, I don't like using hard stops, but it's probably a good idea. Probably a good idea to use hard stops on a lot of things, especially if you're new and just testing things out, testing the waters. It could be very quick that you end up, next thing you know, you're down massive on something that you don't need to be down massive on, right? Without a hard stop. So that's that. Another thing that I thought was cool was Coinbase. This is still, holding up, so maybe it's going to hold up there. Coinbase hit almost $300 today after the earnings. Moderna got taken out. Go back to that guy. Yep, it just dropped below that area. Yeah, so that was the risk I was willing to take, and it didn't seem like he wanted to get back up, and that's it. But what is it? We had Coinbase earlier. They hit up almost 300, hit to 294. Yeah, pretty close. I was looking at this morning like, hey, this looks pretty good for a move. If it's going to break out, if it's going to get back over this 283 area, probably makes a pretty big move up, and that's exactly what happened. So Coinbase popped on up, hit up to 290, pulled back hard. You got a sub 280 dip this morning, and then choppy, and then boom, eventually hit up towards that 294. So that was the next area to watch as you get up there on Coinbase. 294, 300, well, $300 is psychological level I'm watching. And then, of course, after that, we have this area right here, 307. So that's that. I think I talked about some of the earnings results on the stock trends channel this morning, which should be linked down below in the description box. Like always, links to that channel. So if I get a lot of comments on a certain stock, or people are asking about a certain stock, I will, make a video on it. Coinbase kind of set up pretty nice with the earnings, and it was pretty volatile. So I figured I'd make a video on that one this morning earlier. But yeah, that's really it. That's what I am looking at. Moderna doing its thing. We'll check back in on that guy here and there throughout the rest of the day. About 30 more minutes until the market closes. So we're doing its thing. ACY, I'm just kind of curious how this one holds up. Started to fall off, and every time it gets to that point where it looks like it's going to be, going to fail, it gets saved. The spread's massive on this thing, though. It's at least a 30, 40, 50 cent spread at any given time. between the bid and the ask. So it's not a stock you want to be just market buying and market selling, because you'll probably get, lose a good chunk of money just by doing that. Or, you want to be at least somewhat more precise with your orders, how I would see it. But this one was an interesting one. If you guys missed the beginning, I talk about how we're literally in a just random, it's just random runners sometimes, and it makes no sense. But because it makes no sense is why it sometimes works, or because it's such an obvious short, or it's such an obvious, zero. This company's going to zero, I'm not really, but it's obvious that this company should go back down to sub $10, right? But because that's so obvious is exactly why it holds up and it squeezes shorts and it gets attention and it's a low float, right? So sometimes the mind games are a little more than you think, right? It's this week it's been a mind F, that's all I'll say, for a lot of the stuff that I've been watching. But, I kind of expected that with August being August as it is. Miami hurricane play. PPSI was that was my favorite hurricane play last year. That was insane. PPSI was probably the magnitude-wise largest trade I've ever without having news, a true news runner pop. This is insane. So I got in PPSI back in here 150-ish last year. This is actually October though. Hurricane was building in the Gulf and whatever, and it was getting pretty strong. And I was like, okay, this is looking pretty bad. Next thing you know, it runs 500% in one day. One day, 500%. Now it actually, did quite well. It hit even higher actually as we got into January. Came back down, and now it's pushing up the past 2 days because we have the storm that's threatening in the Gulf again, I guess, right? Because it's coming out. It's in the Atlantic right now, or the Caribbean. Now it's pushing its way, or it's aiming towards the Gulf. So this thing, down under $4 would have been great, right? If you're paying attention. But now it's got resistance here at this 530-ish. So, I think you might be able to get better. Personally, I'm not going to buy it up here, but I do like PPSI. If we do see some more attention on the hurricane space, and POLA, P-O-L-A, this is another one as well. This is probably a better buy. If you're looking for a hurricane sympathy play, POLA got that attention when PPSI ran. Look at POLA. It went up from 176, hit highs the next day of 655. So, it's trading higher than that right now. So that's my only concern with some of these things, is that they're trading higher than the highs back then. Now, POLA hit up a lot higher because of the whole battery EV play. I forget exactly what they do. Manufacturing, power generators, renewable energy. Okay, so it was the whole renewable energy thing around the election time. I get it. That's why it ran up. Okay, but now it's still the bleed out phase was big, right? We had a big bleed out on a lot of these names, and it's still this could come down more. That's my only concern with some of these names. Yeah, they could get their short-term pop, but they probably have a lot more, pressure on them, I would guess, to the downside. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of them, honestly, as of right now, even though, I'd love to see them run, but I'm just not a huge fan. I'd rather play those, bios with, a lot of cash and stuff like that, at least as of right now. Bios are the most risky stocks to play in the market, but I'd rather play those and at least kind of have a better feel for, okay, somewhat of fundamentals here. Where are we looking at value-wise? These are a little bit harder to grasp as they made such a crazy run, right? Anticipation run, going into the next couple of years. Biden taking over, all that, great. And then now it's it's tough to see where they're going to hold up. This could hold up here, though. Let me draw this line right now. 660 area lines up with these highs. That's the area to watch. Under that 660, I'm not a big fan, but this could be a decent opportunity on POLA for being able to buy the red. So if I had to pick between POLA and PPSI, I'd pick POLA right now. CEI I like a lot. CEI will be good. Just waiting on it. It's a bottom play. Similar. I don't have much, but I'm just kind of sitting on it, and I'll be buying more. It looks actually decent. Honestly, probably could buy some more today if I wanted to, but I'm gonna wait until probably September. If it runs before then, it runs before then. It is what it is. But I'm gonna wait on this one. I like it down here. Sub 50 cents is in my opinion pretty good. It's gonna be 50 cents resistance for now, and then up above that 65, then 75, 85 areas to watch beyond that level. So a lot of bag holders in POLA. That's the thing. If you go to POLA, right, and that's the problem with some of these stocks too, is that there's a lot of bag holders, which what do they end up doing? They hold it back because now this thing pops. For example, yesterday, POLA pops from 660 to 820, those people who may be averaging down, sell some, and it really holds the stock back. It's less kind of fresh, less natural. So that's why NVOS really interests me, is because it really hasn't run. Like if you look at, this is the chart, they I think they uplisted to the NASDAQ around here and early this year. So this, I wouldn't really worry too much about like the initial spike stuff, volatility there. I'm looking at this thing from like, the past, from April through now. And it had a little pop here, but that was not even on news. It was on some like article, I think, that came out to $3. This thing hasn't had a real run, right? And so you're looking at like Pete Pola, this thing had a massive run. And then before that, it had some big runs. Could it have them again? For sure, because it has run in the past. It can certainly help run it again because people will feel more confident in playing it, but after it's already had a big, massive run, I'm not as interested in that. For example, even NSPR has had a massive run, right? If you go back to this guy, go back to this daily chart, it had a pretty big run. And even a couple weeks back, it had a decent run, right? So I'm not in any rush, and let that patiently wait out. Same type of thing. ELYS, another one of the swings I've had, it had a decent run, right? You go back from November of last year through early this year, it had a pretty good run. Now, it wasn't a spike one day and done. It was kind of more of a sustained. It had a couple weeks where it took its time to get there, and now it's building itself up, putting in higher lows. The chart's building, in my opinion, right now. We're building up. $5 is a key level to break over. We'll build. And then maybe it has some good news and it makes a spike, right? And that's kind of your spike. Or this builds and and that's it, right? That's kind of a slower mover play. So every stock got its own kind of personality, right? You go to SoFi, CEI. CEI, right? Spiky stock. Look at this stock, spikes. So you have those spikes that you get, from time to time, every couple months, it seems like, where it spikes 20, 30, 50%, right? Pretty quick, which is why I would recommend, if you're in this stock, have some sell order set every 5-10 cents. Have something getting trimmed off the top, not all your shares, but trim it out along the way. Make sure they're good till canceled. Go to your time in force, GTC, and extended hours. Make sure that's checked as well. And you don't have to worry about it. If it hits at 2 a.m. or whatever time, right? If it's at 4 a.m. Eastern time, it wants to go, or it has news overnight or over the weekend and it hits, boom. If there's oil news, boom. You don't have to worry about it, right? So some of these, that's how you kind of have to play some of these penny stocks. A lot of them, you can't hope and pray for the type of sustained move that we saw from, let's say, October of last year through February. You're not going to probably get that. Maybe not ever again on, the pump and dumps, right? The trash, right? The penny stocks that ultimately companies are not going to be around for very long, right? Or at least the stocks won't be listed very long. I'm talking, 5+ years out from now. Probably not, for a lot of these companies, but who knows? Now, there's always a diamond in the rough, which if you find that, that's awesome. You can bank massively, but, the nature of how I play small caps is I play them with the anticipation that none, or just knowing that none will be around in 5 years. So I'm not going to be holding these things long. I don't care. If it doesn't work out, I move on. This is what it is. Article yesterday said that people spend the most money in casinos this year. Casino stocks, yeah. Casino stocks in play. I'd be interested to watch some of those. I'm thinking the online betting plays, the sports bettings, the online gaming stuff is interesting, really interesting going into this coming, fall and winter, especially with cases going up, I guess. Again, I don't know. The necessary, like the in-person casino stocks, like the MGMs, right? I guess MGM resorts. This is more of a resort play, I guess. It's kind of a recovery play still that's recovered quite a bit. There's more out there, but this is actually, rebounding quite well. So these are having a decent day. The Dow's up, SPY's up a little bit. Also, we're probably going to get something on SPY at some point because it's been too quiet for too long here. Look at SPY. When I say something, we might get a pullback. Obviously everyone can always be predicting the downside of, oh my gosh, SPY needs to come back down to like 380. SPY goes from here to 380, then that's, a 15% decline in SPY, which would be insane. I don't think it's going to happen unless we have news, or I don't think it happens in a couple of days. It probably happens over the course of months and not, in a very short span. And if it happens in the course of months, in that span, there's still many days of up, right? So many days go up and you can, it's not like it's going to be everything going to go straight down, once that happens. But it's been quiet. It has been quiet, and it's just a little eerie in my opinion. Does that mean that it's going to come down? No, it could go up to 460, But definitely slowed down the price action. You're kind of waking up every day, and if you've been watching SPY, at the past couple of days, you're not seeing moves of over like 0.5%. You're not seeing a 2% up or 2% down or this or that. You're kind of just seeing like a 0.25% here, 0.25% there, 0.5% here. That's it, which I think is nice. I think that brings more attention to small caps, although right now it's like chop fest in small caps. So we have IWM, the Russell is just chopping around. So it's putting in higher lows. Eventually it's going to break out, but we'll see what happens. That said, let's take a peek. We've kind of been stepping away for a little bit. Let's go back to Moderna. Let's see what happened in this one. So what did it do? It did exactly what, a little mind F right there. Look at this. So this thing kind of popped up, pulled back. It dipped below the support that it was holding, this 180, 382, fell to 381, and then now it's pushing up again. A little bit. We'll see if it holds up, but now it pushed up. So stop people out, hit the stop losses right here, and then now it's recovering. That's how they do it. It's how they do it. GENI. I don't know anything about them personally, but it's a sports betting company. I don't know. It's interesting setup though. Very interesting. I love the sector. Would like to look into the company. The thing is that with a lot of these stocks, there's a lot to choose from. Genius Sports is the company right here. So that's why I'll keep it up and I'll take a look at it later. But ELYS is LZs or Ellis, I guess that's how you say it, Ellis. There's that one, and there's Game is a recent one as well. Game. How is this one doing? Not GME. Game. Oh wow. This got destroyed. I'm curious to see more about this one. I remember there were a lot of people who were loving this thing back here in like the 8, back when it was like $10 up to 13. It dipped, it went back up, and now it's coming back down. Sub 6 dipped today. It dipped down there again a couple days ago. Probably not a bad idea to pick something up here. If I look into it and I liked it fundamentally, it could be a decent idea. If I go over here, if I go back to FinViz and I go to Game, I'm just kind of curious market cap wise, like how it compares to some other ones. 100 million market cap, 14 million float. I would like to look into their investor presentation as well. Dive a little bit deeper into some of their numbers, what's going on behind the scenes, right? But this is something you can, it doesn't take very long to do, to be honest, right? Dive into some of their quarterly results, some of their info, and they have a presentation probably to look at too. Boom, next thing you know, you look in their presentation, you start seeing some of their numbers, you start looking at, okay, the market cap is 100 mil, they're projecting this, okay, it starts to show you the value a little bit, you get a better feel for it. ELYS is another one that I like a lot. Market cap is still sub 100 mil, and I think they're doing some good things, and it's kind of, the chart is coiling up, it's pretty tight, the price action has been pretty tight lately, so I like that. So I like a lot of these stocks. The sector is, I think, is a good time to be getting into the sector going into football season. But we'll see. You will see how that plays out. Okay, go back to this guy. Let's go back to MRNA. There it goes. It's pushing up a little bit now into the close. Seems like it's trying to kind of curl its way back on up into the close. So I'm going to be very interested to see how it handles tomorrow, because we had a pretty clear day today. We have a range. Now we'll see if we get above that range into the close, but we have a range from this 372 to like 390. That's the range. That's a pretty key area that it had a lot of, it's consolidating pretty much this whole afternoon. So that's telling us something. It's key. Something's key support, key area to watch. It held this kind of area before and broke out, but that's why I have some of those lines in there. But that's what we're watching on that guy. Outside of that, let's see what else is moving up today. So the number one gainer is RANI. Holding up here, $20 seems to be support. DYAI is pushing up into the close. This could be an after hours mover as well. ACY trying to get back there, but it's still below VWAP. LITB, okay, pushing back. A lot of these stocks don't even have news, to be honest, which is like crazy. UPST, Upstart had earnings yesterday, popped on earnings pretty hard from 135, and now it's trading at 170, which is pretty impressive. We start scrolling on down the list. AHPI, this is an interesting one to watch as well. I guess kind of like your COVID play, your mask play, your whatever play, ventilator play. Interesting setup. It's got some support here. It's holding at like $12. So if it holds $12, that's a price. You can maybe play it like that. Play the risk reward there. Buy this thing close to 12, risk it to 12-ish. Give it a little bit of a leash, maybe down to like 11.75-ish, and then, play it for a bigger move. This thing is seemingly, past couple of days, it's putting in higher lows. It's still trending up, and it's hit, actually it hit 16 yesterday, and it hit only 15 today. So, yeah, interesting. But now as we're watching it, look at it go. It's popping up a little bit. It's getting a little bit of action to the close. It was interesting to me how this thing fell off so much yesterday. After making the run to 16, I was very surprised how this thing fell back to 10 or into the 10s at the close. I was surprised. I would think it would hold up a little bit better, and I think, today we're kind of seeing it's holding up a lot better, at least than yesterday. But look at that, the little potential, short covering, little squeeze action to the close. Got to get up over the 1340 area, and then a VWAP target up towards like 1370-ish. Looks like a target to have. I don't know. That's the deal on AHPI for right now. Yep. Other than that, though, I'm trying to see what else is moving. I have, let's see on the list. Let's see what I have. I had some swing ideas on this list. Let's take a look at some of these swing ideas and see how they're shaping up from the last live we talked about. Some of these were from you guys, so I want to just at least pull them back up. I didn't enter any just as of yet. I already have enough on my plate, but DM desktop metal is one that was kind of consolidating, or at least we're watching it consolidate in this range down under 9, which we actually got today. Under 9 looks decent for DM. Yeah, looks pretty good chart wise. 855 looks like support. I wouldn't hold it below 850. So if you're playing it now, you got a pretty good risk reward, right? Let's see, you're risking this thing down to 850. Could it drop below? Yep, sure it could. But you're going to risk like 6%. And maybe your targeting is the 50 SMA right here up towards like 10. Yeah, you can probably target $10 first as a target. Probably more than that, but you're at least going to have a double. 10 is almost a double in terms of your reward to your risk. So you're going to be looking for $1 target to the upside at least. And then you're going to risk 50 cents. That's a good risk reward. As long as you kind of do that, stack it up over time. Yeah, you'll go through periods of time where right now, unfortunately, a lot of that idea and the risk reward, that type of stuff, it hits your risk every time. It's hitting your risk and you're getting stopped out and you're slowly bleeding out. I get it. I understand. The problem is that we have a lot of bleed out in a lot of names. For example, DM went nuts to over $30 and it is slowly been grinding on the way down. So if you're trying to get it, months back, every time you try to grab it and it looks like it's holding support, a couple weeks later, a couple days later, it breaks down back below. I think, though, in the coming months, as we move into post-Labor Day, everybody gets back to desks, back to work or school and whatever is starting back up, I think we're going to start to see a lot more. I don't want to say predictability, but I also kind of do mean that in a sense, where it's like supports start to hold better on some names, on small caps, but, still being somewhat, I guess, cautious, but at the same time, picking and choosing wisely, but also making sure we have a better understanding of this stuff is still up a lot, compared to a year ago. Why? Does a value make sense? Probably not. If it doesn't make sense, then maybe it's not the best idea. There's probably better plays out there that have, are hitting new lows, overreaction to the downside. There's probably better opportunities, right? So DM, though, is getting low. DM is down to a point. I don't know valuation-wise. I haven't looked into them enough to know, but, it's getting down to a pretty good spot. If I was interested, it's not a bad spot. If you like DM as a longer term play, even you got a pretty good risk reward in my eyes right here. This thing could literally be a $15 stock in a couple months, and no one would even blink an eye. Next thing you know, you're up over 50%. So it's a pretty good swing if you ask me, right? And it's probably a lesser, it's not going to be as stressful because you got your risk reward here. It's going to be 50 cents to the downside, or hits my targets and I start scaling out, right? It's pretty straightforward across the board on this one. You don't have to worry too much. At least that's kind of how I see it. Works. I don't know. Let's see. I know it got killed, right? I don't think. Maybe this thing has. It's the third day. The third day play they call it. So works. If it doesn't run tomorrow, give it this week, right? But it's I would be cautious because this thing can easily fall below $3, fall below $2.50, and then next thing you know, it's down under $2 in a matter of no time. So just be careful. This thing can easily be back down sub 2 easily. So if it holds 3-ish, technically tomorrow would be like the 3-day play, as they say, where you have it's the third day after a run. So let's take a look. You popped a 5, 1, 2. Now tomorrow will be the third day. It doesn't look great right now in the close, but the third day will be tomorrow. If it starts to hold up, if it holds $3 support, or let's say give it down to like 290-ish, if it holds that level, why 290? Go back to the day here on the 6th. It came down to like 293 midday and then recovered. If it holds that level roughly, then maybe this thing has a squeeze out in it up to like 350 or maybe even more if it catches a lot of attention. But personally, I would not be betting on that. So I wouldn't. This is not something I'd be interested in touching. And if I was going to touch it, I would only be interested short under $3. And if it falls back below and cracks down, that's it. If it reclaims 3 and gets, holds up and seems strong, I would get out on the short side. But if I was going to short it, doesn't seem like a terrible spot on if it starts cracking below 3, because it probably comes down to 250 pretty quick, I would say, if it does. That's just my 2 cents. Just my 2 cents for now. SoFi recovered a little bit from the lows of the day, which is interesting. So SoFi is pushing up into the close. SoFi, I think, is a really good play long term. I grabbed it. Now looking back, I didn't grab nearly enough. I sold some puts that never ended up getting hit because I sold them at like $14.50 when it dipped back in here. And, so I made a few extra bucks on it on top of the shares, but I probably could have doubled the shares at least. Now looking back in the low 15s, is what it is. But now it's up there. We got earnings tomorrow, I believe, after the close. So we'll see what happens tomorrow into the earnings. If it wants to push up or if it wants to have a pullback day, I wouldn't be surprised if it pulls back. And then the earnings are either good or bad, and it either pops or drops, right? I don't think SoFi is a super highly anticipated play, though. So I don't think it's like we're going to see a massive sell-off post-earnings. I don't think, But then again, if it's bad, if it's really bad, then yeah, shorts will attack it and whatever. So we will see what happens there on that front. Okay, let's go back to, I'm curious how MRNA is finishing up. Yeah, it's trying to push into the close, it looks like. It's got 388 right there, so it's trying to push up into the close. 390 level is key. It's if it gets rejected at 390. If it does, then there you go. It's showing us that that's a pretty key area. But outside of that, I'm going to see if I can find any interesting news. California becomes the first state to require school teachers and staff to be fully vaccinated or get tested regularly. There's the news for you there. I think we saw some COVID plays spiking on that earlier. I think that came out a little while ago, but they started spiking earlier. Let's see. Gold. Looking at gold on the right-hand side. Let's take a look at GLD. Let's see. Look at the chart on gold. If you guys, a couple days back, gold just futures were like tanking on gold. This is filling this gap to this 164. You could play at some, I don't know, this thing could recover back up pretty nicely tomorrow and the next day, and maybe gets up to like 167, 168, fill this gap up here. Why? Because look at these gaps. When I'm talking about these gaps, it's this on the chart. Gap. Then we got a gap that's getting filled right now as we speak, pretty much. So this would be the next target, which would put us up towards like 168-ish, which is decent if you're playing options on this, on GLD, right? Can you play options? Take a look. Yeah, if you bought the 168s for this week, it's a risk, right? But 5 cents, you bet 5 cents, the thing can easily go to 10 cents if it actually gets up there. But that's risky going into the rest of the week, so I would not be touching that with any size. But the lottery play, yeah, for a lottery, then it's not a bad idea. But, if you wanted to play gold, the bounce on gold here, and it pushes up, so you buy the 162s, these are going to cost you about $2.20, so $220, and let's see. So you got to be at 162s, 220. Yeah, you got about $2 of intrinsic there, so 20 cents you're worried about. So as long as gold doesn't finish the week below 164.20, you're going to make money on that play. So those are not a bad idea. Some of those plays are better. Like if you're going to play the bounce on gold or the bounce on this or the bounce on that, a little bit in the money. Not going to be super expensive for this week. A little bit in the money, but less, I guess, risk of like if you're going to play the same position size on a lottery play versus an in the money play, it doesn't make sense. I could be more comfortable playing the gold bounce with an in the money play, in the money call. Of course, going into the overnight, who knows what's going to happen. But if you play the in the money plays, yeah, I feel a lot more comfortable, with that type of idea than out of the money option, which is more of a lottery. So I wouldn't go in big. Is TTD a buy now? Let's see. Down to 75. Let's take a look. Trade Desk. I remember this guy being an interesting one. Hit up 90 yesterday. What do we have today? Well, there's a gap. That's the thing. There is a gap down towards that 75. So I would ideally like it there. After today's price action, that looks kind of nasty, to be honest. So it seems like, if we zoom out, tried to push yesterday, failed that 90 or failed to really kind of hold the move. And if it can't hold up in the 80-ish area, we could see this thing down into the 75 area a lot faster. So I would personally be looking down towards 75 if you can get that. That's what I'd be looking at. Pretty choppy chart, though, I will say. Pretty choppy. It's not a very clean chart to look at. So it's going to be more of a volatile play. But if you do look, let's see. Here's a trend past couple months. If we do test the trend line, that would put us roughly around 75, at least if it happened tomorrow. So 75 is not a bad area. This obviously will be higher as time goes on. So this gap potentially may not get filled, or, this trend line may not get hit. We'll see what happens, but that's one to watch. Okay, market is now closed. Let's see what happened. Where did we finish on MRNA? 385. So we finished right in that zone. We finished right in the zone. We just couldn't break above. Now we'll see. Yesterday in the after hours, it did tank. It took a little bit for it to happen, but it started tanking into the late after hours. So for those also just who, maybe if you're new or don't have after hours access, this platform we're using is Webull, so you can get access to the after hours trading. 4 a.m. trading all the way to 8 p.m. If you don't have access to it, at least get a broker that does, I would say, if you want to take advantage of movement during that time, be able to sell, buy, whatever. Robinhood won't allow you to do that beyond like 6 p.m. And then you can only start trading at like 9 a.m. or something like that Eastern time. So it's like, okay, well, what's the point if I'm going to be in certain stocks that make moves during, after hours, right? A lot of stocks don't move too much, but if you have movement in, let's say, news, let's say overnight, there's some massive news about some good news or bad news and the markets are tanking, well, you can bet that a lot of stocks will be tanking in pre-market hours and they're going to open a lot lower, because everyone's probably already selling in pre-market. Okay. So now I have the scanner changed to the after hours, so now we can see which stocks are moving in after hours the most, and if we get some news, I'll look at some news. But a lot of the news that we're getting now, I'll be on for a little bit. I have a physical therapy appointment at 4 p.m. Central Time, so got about an hour. I got to leave in like a half hour, but I'll be on for at least a few minutes into the after hour, see if we get any action into the after hours, and then that's really it. But it was an interesting day. I will say that. If you guys missed the beginning, I would go back to the beginning, and we talked about why it doesn't make sense, why the market doesn't make sense a little bit to some degree, even though, that's somewhat a given. We all kind of have to expect the unexpected to some degree as well. Biggest gain in one trade, we can actually look at it right here on this account, on the Webull account. Oh, look at that. We didn't finish. We're not that bad so far. Well, actually, this is the past 5 days, so I don't even know what that is. Is that counting? I don't know. BCTX, $2,800. But I don't go, the account's at 43,500. I don't go in with more than 10% of the account into one stock, and BCTX at the time, I was in it for a swing for news. And if we go back, it's actually doing decent right now. I was in it back here, back when it was around $3. I think my average was roughly around 3-ish, maybe 310-ish. Had news in the morning. Stock went from 3 to 6 in no time, actually hit 9. I kind of botched the exit because I held more than I should have, looking for a bigger move, 10 plus, and we didn't get it. So I ended up taking a lot of it off at 6 in the 6s when I could have taken some off at least. I scaled out, but I could have taken some off a lot higher. Hindsight 2020 again, right? But it is what it is. That was fun. That is literally how I used to trade. Pre-COVID, this is it. It was getting in before the news, buying the bottom. Look at this chart. Okay, pretend that didn't happen. If we go back to before June or before July, look at this. Or actually before June. This is the chart, okay? Bottom play, low risk. I was looking into the company. I like what they had in terms of their breast cancer research and what they had going on behind the scenes. I'm like, they dropped some fresh news here. This is going to fly, low float. There it is. Same idea with NVOS. Look at NVOS's chart, right? Low bottom play, kind of waiting for a very similar idea, right? Same thing with NSPR. Okay, NSPR had a little pop a couple weeks ago, but same thing. We're back down to the lows, bottom play. They just had earnings. Earnings look good to me, pretty good to me. So waiting for news. News will send it, I think, low float. So that's kind of the nature of how I swing. I buy these lows, buy these bottoms when they start to hold up and they firm up. And I mean, somebody's holding it up there, right? They're not just finding support randomly. It's because they're getting firmed up by some bigger money, right? Which ultimately, right, we're the small guys here. It doesn't matter. There's much bigger money at play. And even the guys you see on social media and Twitter that were talking about millions, they're even still playing with small money compared to the bigger powers, right? So there's funds that have a lot more money than they have unlimited money, right? Because they get bailed out. It doesn't matter. So that's kind of how you start to see support, right? Stuff could keep on falling down below. Even if it looks like it's support, it could fall right below. No bids. All right, so we have CNFR. This is in after hours today. This is pushing up. Why? We have, looks like a earnings report. 10Q comes out. Earnings report popped on up. There it is. Okay, outside of that, anything else moving? We have MDVL. Seems like that's very low volume. ATCX, also low volume. UPH, Ride, Lordstown Motors is squeezing for some reason. Did they drop earnings or something like that? Lordstown Motors has been one that has been getting crushed, absolutely crushed. But this thing, it's possible short squeeze play as well, because this one's been getting killed. But it's $6, it's breaking through 6. I'm curious. We can dive into some of this news really quick. Let's go to Seeking Alpha. On the right hand side, I know you guys can't see it. On the right hand side, I have trade ideas pulled up, so I can see kind of like what's going on. But if I go to Ride on Seeking Alpha, you'll get the PR. Okay, so Ride, Lordstown Motors reports their Q2 results. Second quarter results, what do we got? Net loss of $108 million, $121 million in cash. Cash of $366 million. Okay, so that's probably why. If you go to Ride, they have a $1 billion market cap. So this is kind of funny. Every sector is different, but you guys saw how in the beginning we talked about NSPR, like a bio play that has more cash than the market cap, right? Most companies will never have that, right? Most will not. But this is an example where Riot's got $1 billion market cap and they've got, $366 million cash. So they got about a third of the market cap in cash. It's a pretty good amount. Vehicle production in late September. They got plant ready. So they're probably talking about, okay, this is very good to go. And that's a squeeze, I guess, is on now for them a little bit, a little squeeze, nothing crazy. And then CNFR, let's see why CNFR is up 37% right now. Let's see that. Let's see, is it worth the move? A lot of these earnings reports, though, they don't hold up very well. I will say they don't hold up well. Just a fresh press release on positive data, results, this, that, trials, that's better, generally speaking, for a nice news play. Problem is because every company right now is dropping their earnings. So it's like, okay, who cares? You got to be really good. So here they go. Written premium increased 27%, $35 million. Commercial lines increased 20%. Personal lines growth 107%. So they got some good increases, it seems like. Net income $5.6 million or 57 cents per share. Book values per share of $4.53. Strong premium growth first. Okay, the CEO is talking about all that stuff. Okay, cool, whatever. Yeah, so there's some more of the numbers if you want to dive into that. But so the stock is up and it's getting hit now. So it popped to 414 and now it's pulling back. I like to look at the daily chart next. Okay, what's the daily telling us? Well, we have some resistance up here at 415, right? 405, 415. There's resistance right there, very strong. As that was the highs back in early of this year. And then beyond that, some spikes to 481 and $5. So yeah, you got some, anything over $4 is pretty strong resistance on this guy on CNFR, unless it holds over 4 and really kind of pushes. But I would not be surprised if this thing comes back sub 350. So it's honestly, if anything, it's probably worth a short if I was going to trade it, but I'm probably not going to. Let it play out a little bit more because it's the number one gainer in the after hours. And sometimes these things will catch and traders will send it up. And I don't really care to be on the opposite side of that right now. Let's see, MDVL, no, XERS popping a little bit. They had, let's see, did I see anything on that one? Not that I can see at least as of right now. We have XBIO popping up a little bit. XBIO has been a very interesting one. It hasn't gone away. Today it almost did. as of yesterday, it didn't go away. It seemed like it was kind of sticking around, and it seems like it's still kind of doing that. If it holds up in the after hours here, it's still kind of sticking around. So it's been kind of holding up. Clove had earnings, right? Did they have earnings? Yeah, or maybe not. But let's pull up that news. I would imagine they had earnings. That's why it's sending up. Here it is. Reports there, 2021 quarter 2 results. Total revenue was $412 million, up 140% year over year. Okay, it's a squeeze play. Clove could squeeze easy. So it finished around 8, hit up to 9. Where are we looking at on the chart for Clove? We have some really good support down here towards 8. Resistance up towards 9. If it gets above 9, 926, and then we have this 950. Those are two areas to watch above the $9 level on Clove. If we can break through those levels, that could be interesting. Taking our step in its journey to improve every life for the launch of direct contracting this past quarter. Doubled their revenue and nearly doubled lives under Clover Assistant Management, said the CEO. Reads well, at least on the front end. Reads pretty well. Clover is on a $1.6 billion annual revenue run rate based on the second quarter results. This could be setting up for a squeeze. If we do look at FinViz and we go to Clove, Clover Health, we have 22% short. So this is, I mean, my question to you is as someone who's potentially looking to be an investor trader, right? Or in me and anyone really, why would you short a stock where it's at right now? If you look at Clove, sub $9, why would you short it? If you just look at the chart, what is your risk reward here? Like, you're literally at the mercy of a good earnings report popping immediately up 10%. If you're in big, you're done. You're fried as a hedge fund or whatever. I guess it's different because they got shorts, they got longs, and so they're hedged in a lot of ways. But why would you be shorting the stock down here is my question to you, right? I get shorting Clove if it pops up over 15, if it gets up over 20, because it's just straight up. Yeah, I get that. But why are you shorting it down here? Is why I can't imagine that. So, you're asking for a squeeze. That's why I don't like shorting. Like, you think, okay, it's August. Well, why don't I just think about all the small caps I've been trading or watching and just go short on all of them, and I'll just let them kind of drain out over the next couple of months, and I'll make more money than I would be going long or holding my swings. Yes, but you're also probably shorting some of these stocks literally at their 52-week lows. So like the risk reward makes no sense, and you're at the mercy of one squeeze that, or one earnings report or one piece of news that just sends the stock crazy, and you're down bad. So it's like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But that's that. I don't know anything about the one-time dividend of $4.50 from MCFE. I don't know the details on that bad boy. I'm trying to see if there's anything that's interesting. This Clove does interest me, to be honest with you. I might take it right here. We could, if I'm looking at this, the problem that I see though is that ideally this double bottom right here, this 862 would have been really nice because you're going to risk the VWAP, which is down here. If I take it now at the 80 area, you're risking 20 cents for a first PT up to 9. You have to take profits there because that's resistance. So the risk reward isn't great, but this does have a lot more upside if it does squeeze out, which it can easily do. So it's kind of a interesting one. 940 would be it would be one to watch as well. Yeah, we're probably going to watch it just go without us here today, but it's holding. That was a good VWAP bounce. Look at that. So it popped up, hit 9, first resistance, bounced at VWAP, white line. Now it's pushing back up. If it breaks 9, 925, 945, and then beyond that, it's got some open room. So, yeah. Clove is climbing the boards here, at least in the after hours for now. CNFR, like what I said, under 350, and there it went, and now it's trying to get back up, but probably a decent, I don't know. It's probably worth a short. Probably a short if I had to guess. I would say with respect to VWAP here, if you're going to short it, up over 4s is much more resistance, so you're going to risk yourself a good amount if you're going to short it here. But Clove is starting to get there. It's probably going to break through if I had to take a guess. Probably going to break through 9 and go up and make a run. But let's see. Anything else is moving? I can't really see. I think Bumble had some news, earnings or something like that. There goes Clove, 909, immediate shot. Right to our line. Right to that line. Not that the lines are perfect, but right to the line. Look at that volume. Look, this looks pretty good. Volume's coming in now. I kind of like that. You would, if you play it here, you risk, let's say, the 890s. Yeah, I don't want to chase, but you risk the 890s, risk this level if you're getting in now, right down to this level. You want to see that prior resistance becoming support for the continuation move to the upside. So now it popped through. Now it pulls back, ideally into this box. If it gets in that box, that's a buy. And then if it falls out of that box, stop loss area, you could give it a longer leash. If you like it, you believe in it, you give it a longer leash, sure. But that is that. FSR had an offering. FSR offering. Did we got 600 million convertible notes. FSR held up today, but it's got a gap. It's got a pretty big gap to fill back down. $40 price target, $90 bull case. Morgan Stanley came out with that 2 days ago. Great. That's great for them. But again, I think in the short term, you're still going to see those downsides, that downside pressure, because they don't have production. They don't have production until 2022, next year. Look at that. CNFR rejected the VWAP. Boom. Clove into the box. We're into the box. What do we got? So let's see. We're into that box. I'm going to give it a shot. Let's do it. Let's give it a go in this. Let's see if I can get 895. If I can get 895, that would put me right in here. And then we would run it up. But we may not make it. We're going to get teased because it came into this box. It wasn't fast enough with the order. But you can also have, Webull has hotkeys. I don't personally use them because I generally don't trade. I don't want to be in a trade that I'm having to use hotkeys. For me, if I'm in a trade that needs hotkeys, I probably shouldn't be in the trade to begin with. It's my rationale behind hotkeys, but some people like them, or it just helps to get in and out fast. We might get filled. A couple cents off from getting filled, but let's see if we get it. Let us see. Outside of that, Ride is pushing up in the after hours, we just said before, or at least it was. Is it still holding up? Where is it? It's on this. Here it is. It's up 5%. They had earnings, but holding VWAP for now. That's a decent risk reward if you're going to play at the VWAP bounce area. But that's it. There's not much other than the Clove. CNFR is, it's super low volume now. It's probably going to fall back off. I mean, this thing can also go back to $3 at this pace because the volume is so low. I wouldn't be surprised if it just slowly walks its way down and, end of the after hours, it's down the low threes. Wouldn't be surprised. Clove at 909. Clove is trying for it. Looks like I'm not going to get that fill, and I don't want it at this point because I missed the run. But if it pushes up, it pushes up. So that is that on Clove. I'm curious to see how that one does tomorrow. Let's see if the Wall Street Bets crowd hits it tomorrow with a little short squeeze action after that earnings. If they hit it, it could go. They could give it a little shot. This thing can pop to, $13, I think, is a decent potential target. 11 to 13 is not a terrible area. So that said, I got to run to physical therapy in a second here. So I'm going to run out. I appreciate you guys for tuning on in. Last check from Moderna, we talked about MRNA quite a bit in the beginning, at least. But it's, after hours right now, it's pulling back a little bit. But will be a key area to watch. This box we have right here between 390 and 370, that $20 level is a key level for tomorrow and the rest of the week. So that's an area right now. If it bounces from here, that's support. If it falls below, that'll be the next resistance to have to break through to get back into the 400s. So watch that level. Appreciate you guys for tuning on in, and I will see you in the next video.